I mean, the article. I think it's kind of. I think the thing that bothered me about it was this idea that, and I see it all the time. You know, it's up there with the 10% thing. You know, and it's like if you just want, you know, when you just add up like the numbers, it's like there's an argument that UFC could pay its fighters better, no question. And the idea that I mean, a lot of people in that whole thing with ESPN were like, well, they didn't have anyone but Ken Shamrock and Rico Rodriguez on, so therefore they had no story. And it's like if you talk to fighters, there is a story there. Whether it's valid or not, that's open to interpretation. What's fair, what's not fair, as far as like, you know, pay. I think that it's a story of discussion. I'm not, you know, again, what a fair percentage is, I don't know, and what the real percentage is, I don't know. I know that 10% is not the real number. But anyway, so on this one, it's this thing of how if you don't kiss their ass, you know, they take away your press credentials. And I mean, and again, like I've been reading this for years, and it's crap. And they have taken press credentials away from 2 or 3 reporters over the years, maybe. I don't even know what the number is. It's a very small number. They did get into a beef with some internet websites at a time when they felt that those sites were not professional. And actually, I mean, having been at the Affliction show that we were all at together, and you guys know the difference because we've all been at Affliction shows and we've all been at UFC shows, and I think it's better for all concerned when you have fewer reporters there, because at the Affliction show it was like a freaking zoo. You really couldn't get anything done, and you know they credentialed a lot of people that probably shouldn't be there. And you know, I mean, I know people who question some of the people that they do credential at UFC even, but they're more selective and all that. But it's not a matter of you have to kiss their ass to get a credential or they're going to ban you. But what he actually was talking about is how they use intimidation, and I think that's the one that bothered me, is because I've probably been covering, well, I have been covering UFC longer than any reporter that has covered UFC, and I've covered the Zuffa people from day one, and there has been no attempt at intimidation, and I don't know of anyone that I've spoken with, past some people with Sherdog, from when the whole banning thing came, and that's a banning of a website. That wasn't so much individual reporter or any individual reporters, and that's a beef that Dana and Jeff Sherwood have. And Dana does get in people's crosshairs, but as far as like intimidation, I mean, it's like I'm just reading this going like they're intimidating reporters. That's right up there with saying, and Gregg Doyel actually did this about how, you know, Dana Dana fixes fights through the judges when anyone who follows UFC knows that I mean, my God, every show there's every other show Dana gets mad at a judging decision, and he's got no influence over judges. And I judged UFC before, and it's the same thing that I heard, you know, when I was judging UFC. Oh, you know that the judging's fixed, and it's like I was a freaking judge. Nobody ever asked me anything. Nobody ever told me anything other than do your best and judge who you think won. And I was involved in a very controversial thing, and when it was over, you know, one of a controversial fight, and when it was over, it was just like that was how you saw it. Nobody, and UFC wanted the other guy to win, and there was nobody who afterwards goes, you know, from UFC who said anything other than you did your job and it was a close fight, and you know, that's that, including people who were with the camp of the guy who lost. You know, there was nothing. I mean, it's just like I just was really upset about this intimidation of reporters because it's just frickin' crap. Anyway, I had to get that off my chest. That was the only thing about the article that bothered me. I mean, he was, you know, you can say whatever you want about them, but don't like do this thing. Oh, you know, you're right. Now, if he goes and gets his credentials pulled, and he was basically asking to do that because he's going like, oh, I bet you they're going to go now pull my after I write this article. I'm standing up for all these reporters. They're probably going to pull my credentials for Columbus, and it's like, you know, they very well may because you said something that was full of shit, and that is that they try to intimidate reporters. And you know, maybe if it was me, you know what? I'm pretty lenient when it comes to reporters, and you know, and things like that. I have a soft spot in my heart for one because I've been one. If I was Dana White, I'd pull your credentials too. I mean, and without even thinking, I read that article and it's like, if I'm Dana, I mean, I don't know that he's going to, but I would because you can give your opinion on anything. That's one thing. But to say that they use intimidation tactics on reporters, I mean, that's, it makes them look like they're some kind of mafia thing, or organized crime, type of thing. And they're not. They are what they are. We all have good things to say about them and bad things. If you have only good things to say about them, then you're looking at things with rose-colored glasses. And if you have only bad things to say about them, you're a bitter loser, because they're both. They're both good and they're bad. They have good shows and bad shows and all that. But to go in there and say that they intimidate reporters to make them write favorable stories, or else they get, you don't get credentialed. Oh, God, I'm sorry. I just had to say that because it really bothered me a lot.